What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Crunch Time on a Sunday afternoon here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you. Justin Van Zuden, a.k.a. STL Cardinals 84. It was supposed to be on yesterday, but power was out for about 16 hours after a tree fell down on a power line down the street. So thankfully, no property damage for anybody in the neighborhood, but they had to put up a whole new power line and get that stuff rolling. So, of course, yesterday was the day. It was about 95 degrees. That's the day we happen to be without power. But all is well. Power's back today, and we've got a big slate of baseball on tap. So we'll get you set here for a 9-game main slate on Fanduel, proud sponsor of the show. Appreciate that, as always, from Fanduel. If you're in a legal sports betting state, don't hesitate to check out the Fanduel Sportsbook. Lots of good promos going on there on FanDuel. So we'll bring in my two co-hosts. We've got Keith Eister on, below me, I believe. Keith, how you doing?
Yeah, hanging out down here. Going good today. I like this slate. Nice size, 9-gamer. Not too much to digest, but enough to where we have some decisions to make. You can get pretty much anything you want on this slate. Some really good high-end pitching, a couple of team totals over 5. So I think we're working with a pretty good slate here today.
Yeah, it's a nice mix of pitching and offense, I think, today. So if you've got questions during the show, you can ask them in the RotoGrinders MLB Crunch Time Discord. If you're a premium subscriber, we'll prioritize your questions there in the Discord chat. And check that out, rotogrinders.com/Discord. You can also check out everything you need sports betting-wise at Scores and Odds, scoresandodds.com. Andre Alford with us as well. Always provides some good betting content over at Scores and Odds. Andre, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. Excited for today's slate. Actually, it's a really, really good one. One of probably the better slates, I think, on the year and on the Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. One of the better slates we've had on a Sunday. Should be an exciting one. We do have one game with a weather concern, and that is in Detroit. So that should be the one game I think that people are keeping an eye on for potential rain and not necessarily, bad weather all day in Detroit, but the potential for on and off rain throughout the afternoon and evening. Right now, Kevin Roth has that at a straight yellow, and he had it at yellow-orange earlier in the day. So the odds do seem better. Right now, his update says he doesn't see anything worse than a chance for a delay, and he thinks it's likely we avoid that. So if you are interested in pitching in that game, that seems better than it did, at least earlier in the day. So let's talk about pitching. And we mentioned a nice mix of pitching and offense today, and we've got some pitchers at the top. So, Keith, how are you looking at the pitching options here?
Yeah, a couple of different ways you can go here. Sandy Alcantara is at the top of the list here as far as the pricing goes. He has just been phenomenal this year, pitching super deep into games. Seems like you're getting at least 7 innings out of him every time he takes the mound. Not a massive strikeout pitcher, but when you're getting the length like that, especially on a site like FanDuel that rewards the quality start, nice win bonus there as well. He's set up with a great matchup against Pittsburgh. So despite him being the highest priced pitcher on the slate, I think he's in play, very much in play.
You look at his innings over the last, let's see, I've got it pulled up here, since May 22nd, 9 innings, 8 innings, 7 innings, 9 innings, 7 2/3, 8, 7, 9, 8, 7, and 8. So he's gone at least 7 innings in 11 straight starts. You don't see that in baseball anymore. You just don't.
Right. You've got guys going out there throwing 4 and 5 innings a lot of times. Even the true aces are 6-7 innings where he is pretty much guaranteeing you 7 with a great chance for 8 complete innings. So definitely some upside, even though he doesn't have the biggest strikeout rate. The matchup today is outstanding, and that length, like we mentioned, absolutely gives him upside. The other guy I'm looking at for upside is Dylan Cease. He's the guy with the big K rate on the slate. The matchup against Cleveland, you wouldn't generally think is ideal for strikeouts, and it's still not, but Jose Ramirez is out of the lineup today, which is a huge deal. One of the best hitters in baseball, just a really difficult guy to deal with because he walks a ton. He does not strike out at all. So him being out of the lineup is a pretty decent boost to Cease. I was leaning pretty heavily towards Alcantara earlier in the day until the Guardians lineup came out without Jose Ramirez. Tons of interest in Cease as well. You've got Bieber on the other side of that game. I think he's a fine option as well. He's slightly behind the other two for me today. Strikeout rate isn't quite what it has been. White Sox don't strike out a ton. Still a fine option, low-owned option in tournaments. I think he's fine. But for cash, I'd be looking Alcantara or Cease. And the one other name I'm going to throw out there, on DraftKings in particular, he's super cheap. But I think he's in play even on FanDuel because you do save a little bit of money. Could get a couple extra bats in there. But Ian Anderson has this matchup against the Angels that we have been targeting since Mike Trout has been out of the lineup. It's just a brutal lineup on the Angels side. The collective strikeout rate over 30%. Like, you just don't see that. Like, we're used to opposing lineups throwing out a full lineup that has strikeout rates around 25%, and we're loving that for strikeout matchups. This is a full 5 points higher at 30%. So it's been a really rough season for Ian Anderson. His control has been all over the place. Strikeouts have not been where they have been earlier in his career, but this matchup is too difficult to ignore. On DraftKings, like I mentioned, he's super cheap and very much in play. I think you can consider him over here on FanDuel for a slight discount from Cease and Alcantara as well.
All right, Andre, what are you looking at for pitching today?
Keith's pretty much summed it up. he went through a great in-depth detail of pretty much how my pitcher pool pretty much is today. I do like, even though Cease is without Jose Ramirez in that lineup, Cease is probably the most talented pitcher on the slate. I still like Alcantara more just because I think the innings provided could add a little bit more upside. Because Cease would, because if Alcantara could go 8, even maybe a full game on the season, I mean a full game here, and match him for strikeouts or and get a complete. I don't think there's a complete game bonus, but just get the W2 as well. Then I think he can match what Cease is doing or any of these other pitchers. So Sandy Alcantara is mine, just number 1 overall today. Even though Cease, I think, would be majority of everyone else's too, which is so fine in my opinion. I think these two, you can't go wrong with them. I do like Ian Anderson a lot in tournaments just because of what Keith touched on, the matchup against the Angels here. 30% strikeout rate in the lineup on the season. I mean, on lineup right now for the season. That's really high, and this could be a get right spot for him. Like you say, he's been having a little bit of a down year so far. So I like taking that chance on Ian Anderson, especially at $9K and only coming at 10% ownership on a site like FanDuel. I think you can use him as a little bit of leverage here, and get some leverage against the field. I also do kind of like Shane Bieber as well. Just hasn't looked the same though. So I know the White Sox lineup is a little bit tough. So he would come in probably the 4th one for me. Overall, just because of because of the match against the White Sox. And then I also do have guys like Eric Lauer and Nestor Cortez that if I'm running 150, I would definitely take some chances on in tournaments for sure. I know Cortez has not looked the best lately, but his best performance this year came against Baltimore when he had like 12 strikeouts. So he's familiar with them. Maybe he could turn that clock back in after the All-Star break reset and then have a good game here. So I like taking a shot on him a little bit in tournaments as well.
All right. Yeah, the options are pretty thin outside of those guys. Lauer was the other one I was going to throw into the mix. The Rockies are a lot better against left-handed pitching, but obviously not as good away from Coors Field. If you think the weather's going to hold up, he doesn't have a lot of upside, but Sonny Gray, maybe a reasonable SP2 option on DraftKings or Yahoo. But on FanDuel, it's hard to get away from the studs. I think I slightly prefer Cease to Alcantara, but I mean, we've got him. You can see we've got him projected just 0.2 of a point apart. So not a whole lot separating the top end pitchers on the slate. Marlins lineup came out a few minutes ago. That one's a little bit wonky today. Garrett Cooper did get banged up last night, so that's probably why he's out of the lineup. But the bottom of the Marlins lineup is pretty weak today. Not that anybody's using Mitch Keller, but that's the reason for the Marlins lineup. All right. Favorite stacks. Carolina guy has asked us in the Discord chat his Sunday question of favorite stacks in a single entry. So, Keith, what do you like for stacks today?
Yeah, let me touch real quickly. Ross Stripling had a pretty decent outing his last time out, and Boston is throwing out a lineup. Rafi Devers on the IL. this Boston lineup is pretty ugly. So if I wouldn't mess with it on FanDuel at all, but if you're looking for a pivot away from Ian Anderson, who's going to be pretty chalky on DraftKings, Ross Stripling in that same price range, I think is the way I would go with that due to that weak Boston lineup. Just wanted to get that out there.
Sure.
Not somebody I'm playing a ton, but you can sprinkle them in. As far as stacks go, Toronto, absolutely love the way they're set up. It is hot in Boston. Brian Baio is an incredible pitching prospect. I think he's eventually going to be somewhere around the front of that rotation for Boston, but he has shown us over his first couple of starts that he's just not quite there yet. He struggled with right-handed power. The Blue Jays have a ton of right-handed power. Fenway Park plays up for right-handed power. So I really like the way the Blue Jays set up today against the rookie. Great spot for them, great park for them that fits their offense, their lineup really well. The Braves are up there at the top for me as well against Detmers. Another pretty decent pitching prospect who just hasn't quite figured it out. Strikeout stuff hasn't translated as well as what he was flashing in the minors. The Braves a super powerful offense. Some great right-handed bats in there like Acuna and Riley and Swanson that match up really well against Devers. The Brewers certainly in play against Chad Kuhl, especially like the lefties against him, Tellez, Yelich, even throw Colton Wong in that mix. Great spot for them. Yankees absolutely on fire. Judge just doing incredible things. Matchup against Dean Kramer, who's been okay for Baltimore, but the Yankees just too much upside there to ignore them on any slate. Absolutely going to be in play. Judge, one of the top options on the slate with the way he's going right now. I would have those clearly ahead of anyone else today. Looking for something a little bit more off the board. I think you looked to Minnesota. You mentioned the weather there, so keep an eye on that. But I think it's more of a delay chance than a postponement risk. So I think the bats are totally fine there. Minnesota has some nice pricing, particularly on FanDuel against Ronny Garcia, who's not shown us anything impressive. So I do like Minnesota a good amount. And the Marlins lineup is weak, but I never have a problem attacking Mitch Keller. So wouldn't mind taking some stabs on the Marlins at lower ownership also.
The Marlins have somehow been shut out in 4 of their last 5 games. It's been a struggle for the Marlins lately, but I put in the article today that they're my gut call of the day. I kind of don't mind them as a cheaper stack. It helps you get in the expensive pitching, and someday or another they're going to score some runs for Alcantara. So we'll see if today is that day. Andre, what do you like for stacks today?
It's tough because I like the Yankees as my number 1 overall stack today, but Toronto is right there with them, especially going against this like you said, this high prospect pitcher for Boston and Bello. It's just hard for me to ignore the spot that the Yankees are going against Kramer. So Yankees is like my number 1 overall team that I'm looking at today. Followed by Toronto, so it's a little bit changed from what I wrote in the article today. I think Toronto jumps up to all the way number 2 for me. Then I like Milwaukee, followed by Atlanta. Atlanta after that. And then I do like Minnesota. I like Minnesota a lot, honestly. But that, to me, I think they would be ranked a little bit higher if that weather wasn't a concern for me, which is the big part of it. So Minnesota definitely would round out like my top 5. And then my sneaky team that I do like trying to get to today would be the Tampa Bay Rays going against Bubic. I think that's a spot where, I think Tampa, if they can find a way to just get some hits and get going, I think that they'll be fine and can take advantage of this matchup where he doesn't strike out either side of the plate really at a high percentage and walks lefties at least more than he strikes them out, and pretty much walks righties at a 10% clip also as well. I think there's a lot of hard contact.
All right, those are some stacks for the day. Plenty of good offenses to target as well. Now we'll go quickly here position by position, and then we'll get to your questions. We have a 1:35 Eastern time lock today, so that's 20 minutes from now. Andre, I'll stick with you, and we can start at catcher.
Catcher, I'm gonna go with I also do kind of like Boston a little bit too. I mentioned them, but they're interesting stack you can go with too today. So Christian Vasquez is part of a stack I don't mind today. Danny Jansen as well. Sanchez if you like Minnesota. And then also William Contreras. Pretty much like the top guys would be for the most part, will be the guys I'll be working with today for them in my stacks. Gary Sanchez is really cheap on Fanduel at 2.3K. So if you were doing a Minnesota stack, I definitely would like. I think he's in a good position to hit the ball against Garcia today. So I would definitely probably try to include him in there for sure.
All right. With Kirk out of the lineup today for Toronto, a couple of the other kind of bigger name catchers getting a Sunday off. It is a save position, I think, for a lot of people. You're going to see a lot of punting with Jansen on DraftKings. Obviously, you don't need one on FanDuel, but a lot of these guys are fairly cheap, so they'll get some ownership just by virtue of value and people throwing them in stacks. So, Keith, what do you like at catcher?
Yeah, Jansen is the one that's kind of standing out. I mean, he's missed some time this year, but when he's been out there, he's been really good. Hitting ninth is not ideal, but that price tag is very attractive for trying to fit some pitching, and definitely the Judges and the Acunas into your lineup as well. I like Vasquez at the top of the Boston lineup. Totally fine with that. Sanchez as a cheap option with some power as well. Bettencourt is another punt I like on DraftKings against Bubic. He's got some good exit velocity numbers. Hasn't quite seen it in the results, but I'm willing to take a chance on that price, middle of the order lineup spot. And then Narvaez from the Brewers is another guy I'll mention, another one of those Brewers lefties against Cool.
All right, I will stick with you. Like the Narvaez call as well. We'll move to first.
All right. So Toronto's my top offense of the day. That means that Vladdy's going to be way up there. Fantastic option. Good spend up today. I think Rowdy Tellez is a fantastic option as well. Just he's underpriced for his power profile, his excellent matchup against Cool. If you need to go even lower than that, Bobby Dahlbeck got moved up in the lineup a couple of spots because Devers on the DIL. He's minimum price or near minimum price on both sites. I like Goldschmidt having a phenomenal year. Fine as a spend up against Molly, who can give up some fly balls. And then Cordero for Boston, another punt type option.
I think the Cardinals are interesting today. Again, I don't target them a ton, but Molly is making his first start off the injured list. He has been rumored to be in potential trades. And so they're not going to push him. I mean, basically they're just trying to showcase that he's healthy if somebody wants to trade for him. We saw this with Montas last week in his first start back. He only threw 3 innings. So Molly, it's conceivable, could only go 3 or 4 innings. We just don't know. And the Reds bullpen is awful. So I think in terms of a lower owned team that we didn't really mention stacks, I kind of like the Cardinals a little bit today. But Rowdy Tellez, I mean, you just can't argue with that. I don't know what he did to the pricing algorithms, but he's too cheap. Andre, your thoughts on first base?
Yeah, Tellez is my favorite player, like one of my favorite GPP plays on the slate. So I know everyone's going to probably go into Vlad Guerrero probably a lot, which is fine with Toronto. But I think Tellez is just an excellent spot to have a phenomenal game. So he's my top overall spend. Along with then I like obviously the guys like Vlad, Paul, Dolbeck, these guys that I mentioned already. Some of the Yankee guys I do like Rizzo. I think it's a good option today. Matt Olson going against Detmers. Lefty, I know, but I think Matt Olson could still bang one out here today against them. Yandy Diaz, if you're going with the Tampa Bay stack, I do like him a lot today as well. Always as a good guy to put the ball in play. And obviously, there's a couple of the Yankees guys you can go with here, but they also are different bases. Could go with different first or the other bases too. But Matt Carpenter, DJ LeMahieu, guys I would definitely roster today as well.
Yeah, Matt Carpenter is now the the second most expensive hitter on the slate on FanDuel, which if you would have told me that, a couple of months ago, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are.
He just won't stop hitting.
And good for Carpenter. Cardinals fans, it's more ammo to the hitting approach of the hitting coach that the Cardinals have that is pretty much an indictment on him if you look at Carpenter's success in New York. All right, Andre, I'll stick with you. Let's move to second base.
Okay, so second base, I really like this position to more so use a target like guys like only in stacks for the most part. So like guys like Gleyber Torres, I love to get to. If you want to go with the Minnesota side, Jorge Polanco, Nolan Gorham, or Kelton Wong. Those are guys I definitely would target to a lot of and have them, like I said, in my stacks. Use this position mainly for that. DJ LeMahieu as well, like I mentioned in the first base. I mean, but he could be used in any of these positions he's eligible for today. Luis Arias as well, Whit Merrifield. Yeah, those are like the top guys I would use. I don't even mind a guy like Calvin Biggio, who's going to be batting sixth in the lineup in Toronto and not going to garner that much ownership, especially like I said in your stacks.
All right, Keith, what do you like at second base today?
Yeah, same, pretty much the same pool for me. Really like Torres to spend up a little bit. If I'm looking to save money, Colton Wong and Nolan Gorman, both excellent options. Luis Arias, especially his price on Fanduel, very much in play. Andres Jimenez against Cease, pretty decent hitter. He's in the 5-hole today with Ramirez out. I mean, that'd be a tournament only option, but don't mind him. Jose Iglesias has hit lefties pretty well in his career. He's in the 6-hole today against Lauer, so just to get a couple extra names out there, but mainly on the guys Andre mentioned.
All right, I'll stick with you, and let's move to third.
All right. Bobby Whit Jr. is one of my favorite options here. Platoon advantage against Springs. Austin Riley has been absolutely on fire. He gets a lefty today as well. So he'd be my top option at the position. You can save a little bit of money with Joey Wendell. Mentioned liking those Miami bats a little bit. Nolan Arenado always in play, certainly. Arias has third base eligibility as well if you prefer him over here.
Andre, what are you looking at third?
Austin Riley is my top guy in this position for sure. I do like getting to a guy like Nolan Arenado next. I think he's in a, like I said, if Molly doesn't go that many innings, I think he's in a good position. Then I also like Matt Chapman today. Matt Chapman today against Bello for Toronto. Then I also like, where's this guy at? Isaac Paredes for Tampa Bay batting fourth. He was, before I think the All-Star break, he had like a couple games where he was just knocking home runs out the park left and right, like a couple days a week. So he's another thing I find interesting in tournaments, especially a part of the Tampa Bay stack. So he would be someone I would target and use in my stacks today for sure. Then a guy like Jose Miranda, I don't mind taking a shot at him against going against Garcia today for Minnesota. And if you want to go on the opposite side of that St. Louis game, Brandon Drury, I don't mind him as well with Mike Moustakas.
Isaac Paredes hitting cleanup. We had Matt Carpenter hitting cleanup a few games. We've got Luis Rengifo hitting cleanup for the Angels today. I'm not sure what's going on. We're in an alternate universe here, but at third base is, after you get through Riley and Arenado, especially with Ramirez out of the lineup for Cleveland, it's a relatively weak position today. So if you're not spending up for one of those top two, definitely a day where you can go value at the position. All right, Andre, let's move to shortstop.
Shortstop, I do like Xander Bogaerts a lot today. He's one of my favorite plays going against Stripling, along with Carlos Correa. Like I said, I like Minnesota a lot, and if that weather holds up, I think Carlos Correa can have a monster game here today against Garcia. So he's one of the options I like to get to a lot of. Dansby Swanson, Willie Adames as well. And yeah, Bo Bichette is another guy that I think we could roster today. And also, because I see him here now, Ahmad Rosario. If you don't mind going against Cease, just in case, because Cease does have sometimes where he does get blown up. Very rarely though. A mini Cleveland stack would be fine, and Cease would be. Ahmad Rosario would be someone I would include in that as well.
All right, Keith, shortstop.
Yeah, that Correa price on FanDuel especially is very attractive. Absolutely love that one. Willie Adames, another one of my favorite options. Dansby Swanson has had a really good year. Always has handled lefties really well, so definitely like Swanson. Bo Bichette as well. So basically, if I'm not saving money on Correa on FanDuel at this position, I think you want to spend up to this top tier. The Swanson, Adames, Bichette is really, and Bogarts. Really love all of those options. Lots of upside here at the shortstop position.
All right, I will stick with you. Let's move to the outfield.
All right. Aaron Judge is just on fire right now. A couple home runs the other day, 4 hits in last night's game. Certainly making a case for that contract and doing a great job of that. So this matchup against Kramer, nothing to be afraid of. Absolutely love Judge as one of the top overall options on the slate. Yelich at the top of the Brewers lineup, platoon advantage against Cool, a great spot for him. Ronald Acuna against a lefty leading off for the Braves, fantastic option as well. Tyler O'Neill has a very nice price. Mentioned mainly can give up some fly balls. We like St. Louis a little bit. Definitely don't mind him. All 3 of the Blue Jays options in play for me: Springer, Hernandez, and Gurriel, who oddly got that bump up to the 3rd spot for the Blue Jays. He's the cheapest of the 3 as well, so definitely like that lineup spot for Gurriel. Not a guy I typically play a ton of, but with him hitting in the middle of a lineup that has a team total near 6, absolutely in play for me today. Max Kepler has a really cheap price on FanDuel. Just we like the Twins a little bit, and he's one of their more talented hitters. I'm not sure why his price is all the way down there, but he's a fantastic
he's been
option.
cheap on FanDuel for a long time. FanDuel algorithm does not like Kepler.
Yeah, him and Rowdy Tellez. I don't know what they did.
Tellez ticked somebody off. I don't know. He's cheap everywhere.
Yeah. Couple of Brewers righties. I mentioned preferring the lefties, but in a stack, I don't hate the power of Renfroe. McCutchen's hitting cleanup, so don't mind either of those options. And then Ozuna for the Braves, another guy who just crushes left-handed pitching. So absolutely like him today.
All right, we will get to your questions in the RotoGrinders MLB Crunch Time Discord for you premium subscribers here in just a minute. We got 8 minutes left until lock. We'll let Andre go through outfield, and then I will start going through the questions. So, Andre, what do you got?
Pretty much everyone that Keith mentioned is guys that I like today to get to a lot of. Randy Rosarina, I don't know if you mentioned him, but that's a guy I think I'm going to get to a good amount of in my Tampa Bay stacks today. Hunter Renfroe is another, I think, a good option. We mentioned, I think, Alex Verdugo on the Boston side. I think you could go with him today as well. And Jaron Duran for Boston as well. So yeah, pretty much everyone else though was the same guys that I'm going to be pretty much on. Nothing different. I also like in I guess in hindsight, like I think that game goes over the Yankee game a little bit. So if you don't mind playing a little bit of Boston, just in case like Cortez does get blown up, even though I think he can have a phenomenal game here because he hasn't been that great lately. You go with some Baltimore guys, which I don't mind taking a shot on, like Cedric Mullins, Hayes as well.
All right, if you're just tuning in, Cease and Alcantara, probably your top 2 pitchers today, with Bieber number 3. We kind of all agreed on that. Ian Anderson will be the chalk SP2 option on DraftKings in particular. And if you're looking for top offenses, pretty clearly teams like the Braves, the Blue Jays, the Brewers, and the Yankees kind of stand out ahead of the pack, and then everyone else, pretty much anyone outside of those top 4 teams, I think will be quite contrarian today. So, all right, let's get to the questions in the Crunch Time Discord here. I'll start from basically the last one that I answered in the chat was if Mitch Keller was reasonable as an SP2. Probably don't need to go there today, even though the Marlins lineup is watered down. It's not like Keller has this massive upside, and the Marlins have already been shut out for the last 5, so I think they'll at least put up some offense today. All right, Andre, FanDuel Cash. Let's see, Vlad and O'Neill or Judge and Rayleigh?
That is tough, but Cash, I'm going to say Judge and Rayleigh.
I don't see any reason to try to fade Judge in Cash.
Yeah,
like he's on fire. Everyone's going to play him. He is not the guy I would want to try to fade today.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Keith, DK, Cash, Swanson, or Adames?
really close there. I'll go Swanson.
All right. Andre, DKGPP, do you prefer Cease as your SP2 with a St. Louis stack or Anderson as your SP2 with an Atlanta stack?
Anderson. Anderson with the Atlanta stack.
Yeah. All right. DK Cash, again, Keith, I can't believe I'd ever asked this question, but Carpenter or Acuna?
Yeah,
I mean, just think about that. Internalize that for a second.
That is insane.
Let's go back a month and a half, and
yeah, Acuna for me.
I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. The Cardinals are talking about trading for Juan Soto. Heck, we could have just kept Carpenter. All right, Andre, you can't have both. You need to pick one of Springer or Vlad in your Toronto stack. Which one are you keeping?
I'm keeping Vlad.
Keith, DK Cash, Vlad and Rayleigh, or Tellez and Duran?
Tellez and Duran.
Rayleigh must be 2K on DraftKings.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's hitting in the middle of the order.
Let's see. FanDuel high dollar single entry. Andre, Cease with a Toronto Milwaukee stack or Keller with a Toronto and Yankee stack?
Toronto, Milwaukee, or Keller with what now?
Keller with Toronto and New York, or Cease with Toronto and Milwaukee.
Well, we're not playing Keller today, so I'm just gonna make it easy to go with the first one with Cease.
Agreed. DK Cash, Yasmanas, Gorman, or Wendell, Keith?
Give me Gorman. I know Wendell's probably the more cashy type of player, the safer option, but I still like chasing upside even in cash. So give me Gorman.
Gorman is definitely the tournament play in that mix, and cash it's probably close, but I think you're fine either way. But I would probably lean Gorman as well. All right, Sherman's Tanks, O'Neill and Correa, or Vlad and Chang on FanDuel. Andre.
O'Neill and Correa, or
Vlad and Chang.
Give me O'Neill and Correa.
I agree. All right. We are caught up in the questions on the Discord. I don't see any alarming updates with the weather in Detroit. So that appears to be a go with a chance at a delay at some point in the game. Let's see. Anything else? No real lineup updates that have come through. Remember the last slate before the All-Star break, there was a couple of postponed games in the last 20 minutes leading up to lock. So thankfully we don't have that today. All right. See a couple people typing. We got time for maybe 2 more questions or so before locks. If we get those questions in quick. Beaner asks, Keith, Kepler or Gallo?
Kepler.
Doesn't say the format, but
yeah, either format, Kepler.
All right, D. Montgomery, boots on the ground, says he lives in Detroit, looking good so far. So, again, good news if you want. And, because of the weather and the fact that there's so many good offenses, I think Twins are going to end up being a lot lower owned. I mean, not that they would have been chalky anyway, but I think the Twins are going to be 2, 4, 5% in terms of their ownership today. So, let's see. DK single entry. What do you believe will be the popular construction? Spend up at SP2 with a Brave stack. I think Anderson is the chalk SP2 on DraftKings, even though, he hasn't been great with that Angels lineup and the fact that he's 6,500 or whatever on DraftKings. I think Anderson is the chalk SP2. All right, Andre, FanDuel, GPP, Wong and Wendell, or Matt Chapman and Yolmer Sanchez?
Wong and Wendell.
All right, FanDuel, Cash, Keith, Vlad and Yelich, or Acuna and Kepler?
Ooh, that's close. Give me the first one.
Bean or FanDuel, single entry, Wong or Gorman, Andre?
Oh my God, that's the Wong.
Yeah, that's a close one.
Yeah.
Wong, I mean, it's hard to ignore. He's pretty cheap too. So, all right, that takes care of all the questions in Discord, and also takes care of lock. So we made it right on time, and should be a fun Sunday slate, everybody. So, Keith, anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's like you said, should be a good one. I like this like good mix of some top tier offenses, plenty of pitching to go around. So let's see how it plays out.
All right, Andre, anything else for the people before we go?
No, just good luck today. Home run call. I'll give one away like Rowdy Telesa. Obviously, go yard today. If you want to parlay him with like Carlos Correa, I like that option too.
All right, I like Tyler O'Neill. Keith, you got a home run call?
Let's see here. Give me, how about Teoscar Hernandez?
All right, there it is. Parlay the three of them. If they all hit a home run, we get the three of us split 10% of your winnings. We'll see. All right, with that, thanks to Keith and Andre for joining me. Thanks to Devin for working hard for us behind the scenes. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everybody. I am Justin, and we will be back at you tomorrow. Take care.